All right, we might be live. I'm not sure. I think we're live. All right, I'm going to share out this link. Oh boy, here we go. Okay, here we are. Publish now. Patrons only. Boom. Okay, cool. So I think we're good. I think we are live here. I should probably put this one there. So this is the 450th patron Q&A live stream. I'm super fun. I have a bunch of questions you guys have already submitted that are really good. So we're going to talk about those. We're going to go over just what other questions you guys come up with. And yeah, and that's the whole thing. So let me real quick share this out here. This is I'm calling it part one. So this is the one that we're doing for, our 450th patron. We're doing one at noon today. And one at 9 p.m. Sorry, just gotta chat this stuff out. Sweet. Okay, so yeah, hey Jay, let me put this. I'll do it later. I want to kind of put it in a place where I'm not looking down. Well, I guess if I move this up. So yeah, so we're gonna. So I have a bunch of questions I'm going to go over that you guys have submitted, and I'm sure we'll come up with more as everything progresses. And yeah, and then if you're watching this live, that's awesome. Definitely keep putting questions in the chat and stuff like that. If you're watching previously, that's cool too, because it's going to be up on the channel. If you come up with other questions or anything like that, hold on to them for future chats. And yeah, so let's get going. I'm going to find the, let's find the original post and just start going through some of these. So we have like 20 something questions in the tank right here. So let's see. Okay. So we've got, right at the top. But you guys are talking about X-Men and whether or not I'll do an X-Men video. I'm still thinking about it, and I have some plans. I think I've kind of talked about this in previous live streams, but I would definitely break it up into specific movies. One that I hadn't really thought about too much before, but think would be a lot of fun, would be some sort of some sort of Storm specific movie. I think the character of Storm is super cool. And I don't think she gets nearly enough love in the X-Men movies. I know she's like going to be a kind of main player in Dark Phoenix, but I'm sure it won't work as well. I'm sure she won't be as main of a player as you would expect. And I feel like Halle Berry does a good enough job with her as a character. She's trying, but the movies in the original three just never really supported Storm. So I think I would really want to put her into a bigger role and just give her her own movie. It's not that hard. I don't know who I would cast for her though. See, I don't spend as much time as some people do. Not that I don't think it's interesting. Just I don't have good ideas on who I would cast for specific like X-Men or Fantastic Four guys. But she would be a really interesting one because she is like a really different character. Like I want a Storm with an African accent, which they managed to do now. But I don't know. I think her story is interesting. You could put like the Shadow King in it, although you've kind of got him in. I believe he's a character in the Legion show. So we'll see. It's a mug I have with my logo on it. I forgot to put sugar in my coffee. We'll survive. So let's see, because there were a couple here that were pretty interesting. Okay. So Moose Skittles asked about Terry Crews for J. Jonah Jameson. So I'm not sure what the deal with J. Jonah Jameson in these new movies is. I think he'd be fun. I was just watching a bunch of clips of Brooklyn Nine-Nine for fun. And I think he's a great character. And I think he's got that very, I want to say like angry or even aggressive energy, but just like he's a super fun guy. He's great doing press stuff. So I'm sure they would be happy to have him, going on Jimmy Fallon and stuff like that, just talking about this movie. I would say the weird thing with him, not like the weird thing, but the thing about it's just so hard to follow, to follow what's his name, to follow the guy that J.K. Simmons. I do think the thing about J. Jonah Jameson that's really weird, not weird, but like interesting, is that J. Jonah Jameson, like, there's a really specific image of him, and he's got a really specific mustache, his weird little like almost Hitler mustache and his flat top haircut, right? If you take those things away, you could do very different things with that character. Like you could have that character be like a Devil Wears Prada type. Like I haven't seen that movie, but like Cat Grant from Supergirl. You could cast a completely different kind of actor or actress and just go in a different direction with it, because you're never going to recapture the lightning in a bottle that was J.K. Simmons unless you went really, really young with it. There are rumors that J.K. Smoove, I think that's how you say, I think there's a V in there, who's from like Curb Your Enthusiasm, and he's a or JB Smoove, right? J.K. Simmons, that he's playing J. Jonah Jameson in this new movie, which would be crazy. But he's definitely, I mean, he's a very different kind of character. It's just, I don't know. It's so tough because every single version of J. Jonah Jameson I've ever seen is exactly the same, right? Like he's amazing in like in the animated series and in the other versions of the animated series, I believe like Spectacular Spider-Man, video games, the movies. Who is that? Jay posted a picture of Dr. Cox with as J. Jonah Jameson with that haircut, and like that's pretty good. And I think that's pretty realistic. Like he's got that same, dismissive high energy. I was trying to look because I have, and I probably don't have them out. I have a bunch of I have more recent Spider-Man books. I'm wondering because you can usually get a sense for what Marvel's up to in the future with like looking at their older stuff and go like, okay, so this is what or their newer stuff. I go, this is what their vision of this character is. So that's probably what he's going to be in the movie. I can't remember seeing J. Jonah Jameson in anything super recently. I think I've just been reading Amazing Spider-Man. I know there's Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, but I haven't read that. But yeah, I don't know what to do with him. It's a tough question though, because what they have with Spider-Man right now is like he's kind of mentorless, and we've spent so much time with Spider-Man and his connection to the Avengers that I do think a lot of people who are real big fans of the character want a version of Spider-Man that is doing his own thing. And I think that would be great. But it's like, yeah, one of the main way to kind of make that character more independent is just have him be, have him have a job. And I think he's not Batman where he's got to be like a detective, but you can use that to tell an interesting, like to tell a story, especially because so many of Spider-Man's villains are some sort of like, guy in a suit, and Spider-Man doesn't know who they are. They're like, we got to figure out who this dude is. Spider-Man doing photography and journalism would be helpful. That'd be a good way to introduce him to some of the other characters. Although I know that the girl, I want to say Betty Brant in that universe, the character that usually works at the Bugle, I believe she in like Homecoming is the girl that's doing the morning announcements on their like goofy, not well put together morning announcements video. So she exists in the universe, but whatever, throw her in there, it's fine. There's a clip, by the way, it's super funny, of like it's like 2 minutes of their poorly edited morning announcements. You should totally watch. I saw it on Twitter the other day. It's great. Okay. Let's see. Other questions. That is a very good question. Moose Skittles also had MCU Wolverine can and should be the Black Panther of short people, yay or nay. So maybe Black Panther of short people is a little strong, but I do agree. I tweeted about this. I want a short Wolverine. it kills me that he is the most he was one of the most popular comic characters when I was growing up in the 90s and in the cartoons and stuff. And then they made him the main character in the movie and they cast Hugh Jackman. And he's great and he did awesome stuff with the character, but he is 6'something", 6'3". He's way too tall. Wolverine is supposed to be 5'3". He's supposed to be angry all the time and like diminutive. He's supposed to have to look up to see Cyclops, and like when they square off because they disagree, Cyclops is more of a, prototypical, like this is what a comic book superhero should look like, and Wolverine is this little guy who doesn't quite fit in. I obviously never got that sense from Logan in the X-Men movies, not only because him and Cyclops barely spent time together, but just because like he's angry, and like when Hugh Jackman wanted his Wolverine to be angry, he would just like gurr and he'd scream the whole movie. But I would liken a Wolverine that is just pissed the whole movie, and his shortness is part of it. People have been talking about which actor to get. Like, there are short actors, like, depends on how young they want to go. Like, yeah, your Josh Hutchinsons, right? You got your Daniel Radcliffe's, who, like, I've seen pictures of like what Daniel Radcliffe would look like, and I really like that. But I don't know who they would pick. I think you could do camera tricks to make a tall actor look short. Like, I don't think any actor that's tall, like a Charlie Hunnam or some of the other people they've been fan casting for this role, would be like, yeah, make me the short version of me. Like, to go out of your way to make me what is like objectively less attractive. Like, not that I think that should be the case, but they've done studies. But I think Wolverine should be short. I think they should put some effort into that. I would like it if he's also like a Canadian actor. I think it's funny how like with how it would be weird if like Captain Britain or James Bond were American actors. Like, that's just unacceptable, right? But there's so few Canadian superheroes and Canadian like pop culture characters. How is Wolverine not played by a Canadian actor? There's plenty of them, right? You've got more than enough, so just get one of those in there. But yeah, I think Wolverine should definitely be a short dude. There's plenty of them. Let's see. If you could direct any film franchise, what would it be? What would you choose? Would you write a film without any source material? As far as franchises go, the one that I think I would love to direct, I really enjoy spy movies. A lot of my favorite movies from just ever, like I said, True Lies is one of my favorites. Kingsman is one of my favorites. Like Casino Royale, some of the really solid Bond movies, even when they don't make any sense, like Skyfall, are still a blast. I'm trying to think. There's a couple other modern ones but a lot of them recently, even like James Bond, like Casino Royale, have been like a take on James Bond. So like, it's not just a classic James Bond. It is a like, what if James Bond, but serious, and he doesn't, drink his martinis the way you expect. Yeah, let's see what else we got here. Like, there's A Man from U.N.C.L.E., which I really enjoyed. Mission Impossible, all those are really good. So is it genre? Those would be the ones I'd like to take a crack at. I wouldn't say I'd like to like necessarily direct a movie because I have no experience whatsoever doing that. But for like writing a movie, yeah, I think a spy movie is a good one because you can start with so many really specific tropes that, because mostly of James Bond, we all are 100% on board with, and then you can kind of move forward from there, which I think Kingsman did that really well, which is part of why it was so successful. And even Man from U.N.C.L.E., like a movie I know nothing, like a series I know nothing about, was still a lot of fun because of how well it dealt with, like how it inverted specific tropes that everyone was a fan of. But like, if I were taking like a franchise, let's see, list of film franchises. I did the video on why I think the Fantastic Beasts movies should have been different. I have no idea where they're going with that, but I definitely think that I would love to see that one go in a different direction. See, there's a lot of the ones that I really like. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to make another, like, I don't want to make a Rocky movie. I want them to keep making Rocky movies. So if I'm thinking about a franchise, I would want one that's like not in great shape. Like I have no interest in like a Star Wars. a Star Wars movie. The Transformers movies would be fun because they are like really in a not a rough spot, but just like it's so obvious what the Transformers movies need to do. And after Bumblebee, maybe they've kind of got the message, but like those I grew up with that and like Beast Wars and all that stuff. Um, let's see on this list here. Like, I mean, it would probably be an X-Men movie. We're gonna spend a lot of this talking about X-Men, but like I love the X-Men, and I think a lot of the things that they should be doing in these movies are pretty obvious, right? Like they should have the movie should get smaller. We should have a point of view character like Iceman or Shadowcat or something like that, who is like our audience surrogate. We should treat a lot of the X-Men in the future, like Wolverine, like they're just guys who we already know or don't need an introduction to. And I have a feeling when they reboot this franchise, reintroducing Wolverine will be a lot of the work they do. And it's just so unnecessary. I'd center it around Cyclops. I would make the characters more extreme versions of themselves. So like Cyclops should be more of a jerk. And that's part of why I loved Umbrella Academy so much. I think that like I have it here somewhere. I have the first Umbrella Academy book, which is good. I haven't finished, like I've barely gotten through it. But I really enjoy it. And they get the dynamic of Cyclops through really well in Luthor, who is the number one, like the way they rank them, not rank, but kind of rank themselves. Like, I just want a Cyclops like him. He thinks should be in charge. He's good at giving orders. A lot of the times he's right. When he's not right, he makes big mistakes. And I like, so I've always wanted that. I think we could get it. Doesn't seem like it would be that hard, but I don't know. I don't trust Fox, obviously. Dark Phoenix, they've been putting out like clips from Dark Phoenix, and I'm like, what? Whenever I see a trailer and the trailer isn't good, I'm always super worried because I'm like, this is what you got to put out. Like, you got to choose, how do we sell this movie to people? Let's put out Ugly Genie. And with the X-Men movies, it's like, how do we convince people this isn't Dark Phoenix? Let's put out a scene that's exactly like Dark Phoenix. It's the one where like Professor X and Magneto meet, and in the movie in X3, it's like they're meeting in her childhood home, but in this it looks like they're meeting just in New York City, I guess. But yeah, like it doesn't have to. It so doesn't have to be that. That like I'm like, obviously it's not great that all of the entertainment properties are going to be owned by the same company soon. However, if they didn't all keep screwing so many of them up, I'd have a lot more sympathy. But like, considering Fan Four Stick and a lot of the recent X-Men movies have been no bueno, not psyched. Okay, let's see. But yeah, if I'm writing a film without any source material, it'll probably be some sort of James Bond parody. Because also, like, you write without source material, but we all know exactly how that movie goes. They're all structured very, like, not all of them, but a lot of them are structured really simply. You know what else? Film franchise, Men in Black. Patrick H. Willems did a great video about Men in Black recently, and just like why those movies are special. And I haven't seen the new one yet, obviously, the one with Tessa Thompson and Chris Hemsworth, but it doesn't look all that interesting to me. It feels very, samey. So I'd love to see a cool Men in Black movie, because those movies are terrific, especially the first one. I mean, the first one's great. The rest of them were fine. Yeah. Okay, let's see more questions from other people. We'll get into I want to talk about this one twice, but this is a really good question. So, who do I think will be the next Thanos or main villain of the future Avenger movie? So we've talked about this, I think, in previous live streams, but now post Endgame, it's a little bit clearer what the options on the table are. So I think the first one that I'm like, obviously, I don't think Galactus is in the right spot. So in case you guys don't know, Galactus is this big giant, I think he's a Celestial, but at least he's around there. He's like a, one of those big giant space beings, and he eats planets. He's fine. He's a lot like Thanos. The threat he poses will be a lot like Thanos. And the best you could do to differentiate him would be to introduce the Silver Surfer But I would imagine by the time Galactus is a bad guy in a movie, the Silver Surfer will be the good guy in a movie. So then it's like, well, what's the point? I think so. Other ones, I think Annihilus would be fun. But the crazy thing about Annihilus is like he commands waves of guys, and we've done that a lot. So we probably need to take a break from that. So I see it. So Jay in the comments posted Maestro. That is an interesting one. So I'm not 100% not like caught up. He is Maestro, from what I understand, is the Hulk from a different dimension where he like became Smart Hulk and more or less took over. I don't know too much about him. I don't know what comics he's from, which is why I like why I have so much trouble with him. But he's cool design. Evil Hulk is fun. I like the Hulk, although I think he's in a weird place. Not like a weird place, but I don't know what they're gonna do with him right now. So he came from a comic line called Imperfect Hulk back in 1992. And yeah, so he's just like kind of evil Hulk, although I'm sure there's more to him than that. But I'm not sure where he comes from or what his deal is. Yeah, approximately 100 years into the future, nuclear war has killed almost all of Earth's superhumans. A future version of the Hulk called Maestro has seized control after being driven insane by the nuclear radiation he has absorbed. And then yeah, he goes somewhere cool. I think that'd be fun. I think, you know what I would love to see, if they can't do it, would be World War Hulk. That's one of my favorite comic crossover events, which is just, and it would have to follow a storyline that we can't do anymore, which is Planet Hulk, which we already did. But the idea for that is the Hulk goes to Sakaar or War World. I think it's Sakaar in the comics too. Becomes a hero. The planet gets blown up. He assumes the Illuminati of like Reed Richards and Iron Man and Doctor Strange, Professor X, and I want to say Namor. Who's the other one? There's a third. It's fantastic. Oh, and Black Bolt. Those are the big four. He assumes they did it and they blew up his planet because they hate him and they send him to that planet. That's not true. But then he comes to Earth and just beats them all up. It's a super fun book. Features the Sentry, who I think is a character they're going to introduce really soon. But yeah, I'd love to see some version of that. But I mean, we'd have to find another way to make the Hulk bad. I don't know what that would be, but I think that's something really fun. I guess like with Maestro, see, yeah, I guess you could do kind of work the Maestro storyline into that. Have Hulk get hit with a bomb or something, or like, because okay, so the idea in it from what I just read is extra radiation turns the Hulk crazy, right? So from what happened in Endgame, spoilers for Endgame, although who hasn't been spoiled by it, he does the snap, which he says is mostly gamma radiation. We don't really see much of him post snap. Like he's in the big fight and he's around, but it would be crazy to assume that he just, is going gamma, he's got gamma overload. Jay also says, depend on how they do the multiverse with the new Spider-Man movie, they could have him come from another dimension. Yeah, I'm interested to see how they're going to do that too, because I've heard people say, well, of course he's not from another multiverse dimension. Mysterio lies, which yes, but also maybe he's lying about other stuff and not that. Maybe he is from another dimension, but he's also a like super villain from that dimension who makes super villains to fight for fun. Like he's so much like Syndrome. That's the thing. He's so much like Syndrome from Incredibles. I almost feel like there has to be something else that's different about him. Something else that's special about that character. So other villains, you got Kang. He's time traveler. We just did time travel. Probably not the right idea now. And then you got the two that I think are, then you got like Magneto, but I don't think we're doing X-Men villains this quickly because I don't think we're doing X-Men this quickly. So we got the Skrulls. I think it's a great time for them. I think Captain Marvel kind of not like dropped the ball, but they're in a weird place because of how that movie ends where they're all good. And Feige has said like, well, maybe there's bad ones out there, but I do think making that move would backtrack on a lot of the goodwill we've that we gave them in this movie, just saying, oh, these are different scrolls that are bad guys, so just forget about the ones from before. Almost like retconning that movie. I think that they're going to do something though with them soon. I think they should do it now, because you have Captain Marvel, who's the strongest Avenger ever, apparently. Thor's still kicking. You have a lot of really strong Avengers who could beat up a character who is beat upable and could kill waves of guys, but they don't have any relationship, right? Like, they just met. So it'd be interesting to see characters that don't trust each other being forced to try. Be like, oh man, Captain Marvel and Black Panther just don't get along because they don't have this Iron Man, Captain America history. Like, they would be not like dumb, but I don't think they should do like Civil War II, which is a comic event recently with Captain Marvel. But like a who do you trust kind of event where like the team is split up. This is the perfect time for it. And then the other one's Doctor Doom. It'll probably be him. I think he'll be the main one. I think they will introduce the Fantastic Four as quickly as they possibly can. Throw him into the mix. Be like, oh, this is this guy. He's been here the whole time. He's just been up to his own stuff. Like, and I think people take for granted how quickly the Avengers movies happen. Like, Doctor Doom couldn't deal with the threat in New York because, excuse me, as far as he knows, it starts at like, 8 o'clock on a Tuesday and it ends at like 9 o'clock on a Wednesday. Like, there's not a lot of time for someone to get involved. So he could have been here this whole time and just never, dealt with it. He could also be super isolationist in Latveria, or he could be in hell or something, right? Because like Doctor Doom, I'm trying to remember his whole story, but it's like he's a guy who is, his mom makes a deal with the devil or something. And then at the same time, he leads a revolution in Latveria, becomes king of Latveria, and then goes to hell to get his mother's soul back. So like, we could say Doctor Doom has been around for a while. Let's say it's Nikolai Coster-Waldau age, because he definitely should be played by Nikolai Coster-Waldau. And he's just been doing stuff for all this time. Like, he's been dimension hopping, finding specific items, or getting cosmic power, or whatever it is this one wants. I think that would be really fun. And because I think Fantastic Four are going to be a big part of the future, it would be really smart to make him the main villain now. And you can seed him through some of these other stories, right? Maybe Black Panther and Wakanda has some sort of conflict with Doom, which is especially helpful because the Black Panther movie, Black Panther 1, killed all the good Black Panther villains. So they got rid of Killmonger. Man-Ape is not a villain anymore, and Claw is dead, so you need something. I think the other one, who the other one is? Because something I was reading recently is Namor. I would not be surprised if they really go heavy on Namor. The thing with him is we don't know where he is. Like, I'm not positive where he lives in the comics. Like, not where he lives, who owns him. And he is a little similar to, he's a little too similar to, what's his name? Aquaman, to really be able to get away with that, where it's like, well, why are we watching this guy? We just saw him. Except, at least from what I'm reading, and like, let's say they are using these books as a proving ground for how are we going to write these characters. He's a completely different character from Aquaman. He's a lot like what I know of Aquaman, which is this royal, jerky, kind of like when I went to this Marvel exhibit a little while ago, they used the word moody to describe him, which I think is such a good word to use to describe Namor. He's a moody prince. And so this, like, the really detached, like, not a cool guy vibe he gives off, Marvel's really lucky that they turned Aquaman into this completely different character with Jason Momoa, because they can do normal Namor now and it's fine. And I think there's interesting stuff about that character. Like, you could make an Invaders movie, which is there was this comic team that he was on between, it was Namor, Human Torch, which is an android, which is a different guy, Captain America, and Bucky, and they just fought, the World War II. You could put them in a movie and then set up Namor as the villain in that movie, and then have him show up in the Avengers movie as like World War Namor. It should be cool. David on the chat asks, what about Norman Osborn? It's a good one. I forgot about him. I think so. The tough thing about Norman Osborn is A, we haven't met him yet. B, I would want him. The storyline I would want him to do the most is Dark Avengers. What's weird about the Dark Avengers now is it seems like we're also getting a Thunderbolts show. And the Dark Avengers and the Thunderbolts are very similar, kind of. But the problem with the Dark Avengers is the idea is Norman Osborn is filling a power vat, which is very similar to Thunderbolts, makes a team of supervillains and pretends they're superheroes and is like, oh, we're superheroes. We can do what we want. And he like uses it to get away with stuff. He steals an Iron Man suit and becomes the Iron Patriot, which is where that thing is from. It's not usually Rhodey, but the difference or the tough part there is we don't have the characters you would need for that, but also I don't think we have established enough heroes and villains. Like if the Avengers were still around the way they were, if we had the big six and they were just the Avengers, I think we could do it now. But besides not having Norman Osborn, it's like we don't have an Iron Man. We don't have a Captain America. We have like Captain Marvel, Black Panther, but like, who do you sub in? Who are his Dark Avengers? And I don't know. I'd like to see it. Because in the comics, it's off the top of my head, Norman Osborn, Ares, Venom. So Ares is, I don't know who Ares is supposed to be subbing in for. I guess Hercules maybe. Venom is Spider-Man, but he's like, but it's not like it's like I'm Venom and I'm good now. It's like I'm pretending to be Spider-Man as Venom. Deken, who is Hercules or Wolverine's like son, I think. I forget what his deal is. Trickshot, Hawkeye's brother, I'm pretty sure, is pretending to be Hawkeye, who I guess he could exist. We've never seen his brother. A couple girls, I can't remember who they are, but yeah, like we don't have any of them. So I think if they took this next like phase and flush out every single one of those guys, but like you have to get Wolverine, you have to make enough Wolverine stories to invent his son. So I don't know, they could do it, but I'd be interested to see how they do it. Plus, what you would do with Norman Osborn too is play him out exactly the same way the way Dark Avengers is like facilitated is Norman Osborn saves everyone from the Skrull invasion, kind of. He is the public like hero of the Skrull invasion. So having him be the guy, like having him be the one that comes in and is like, I'm Norman Osborn, and then reinventing S.H.I.E.L.D., like, because I think he makes Hammer, which is crazy because that would piss off Justin Hammer more than anything. But having him be the guy that makes S.H.I.E.L.D. this big, and would give him opportunities to be the big bad in the next movie. I'm wondering, does this see Toasted Zen is in the chat now? Who you guys think would be a good Norman Osborn? Because like once you decide who the Norman Osborn you're going for is, then it's like that would dictate a lot of what stories you can tell with him. Let's see. Other questions. I'm so tired. I haven't been drinking my coffee as much. Okay. Let's ask some. Let's see what Toasted Ten's questions are. Do I plan making a Fantastic Four in the MCU video? I've wanted to for a while. The problem is I've never had a better idea than the one that Movie Bob came up with. He has a 2-part, like how to pitch the Fantastic Four in the Marvel universe, and it's great. And I've heard versions of it. The idea is there's time travel. They come from the 60s and they just show up now. They have their superpowers, and it's all about them trying to find their way in the world. A lot of it plays pretty much like a lot of beats with Incredibles 2. So I don't know how they would do that, but I think you could pull it off. I don't know. I've never really, I've never had any great ideas for Fantastic Four movies. I don't know. I mean, I think they should probably go super basic, especially because Fan Four Stick was such a play on like this gritty, more realistic, unlikable, terrible Fantastic Four, and then Fantastic Four 1 was super cartoony and silly. If you took it and made it not like realistic, but just grounded, simple, their fighting moment and whatever the big green monster is from the first Fantastic Four, comic, just made that the movie that would work. I think all of the fan casting I've seen for it, I like. I like John Krasinski. Saw a picture from a comic recently that makes it pretty clear that they want John Krasinski. I want John Cho. Someone suggested John Cho, who I love. Having seen his weird, boring episode of the Twilight Zone, which I don't blame him for or anything. He's in Kid President, which it's fine. But having seen him in like Searching and stuff recently in Star Trek, I was like, I want him to be in more stuff, and I think he'd be a good read. He's very like, cause that's the thing with him and Cyclops. I like all these, like, cool guy, Iron Man, and Spider-Man, Human Torch. These characters that are going to be the face of the franchise, but I really like these unlikable, jerky characters, and I don't think the movies have ever had they haven't had the courage to really make a character that in the comics is supposed to be generally unlikable. So that would be the test to me of if they get it. It's like, is their Reed Richards, like, he's a hero, but is he also like a prick? And then I have faith in it, which is kind of why John Krasinski doesn't fit super well for me, is because he is too likable. And John Cho is too. But I mean, they're both good actors. I'm sure they can figure something out. Let's see. Yeah, they do. They have a lot of good actors, like named actors already. I heard a while back McConaughey was the rumored Norman Osborn, but that didn't seem to pan out. Put what's his name in? Like, he's doing his stupid Joker movie, which I've heard very mixed things about, and I mean, it's months away, so it could go in any direction. But like, Joaquin Phoenix is being awesome. Norman, he's crazy enough to be crazy Green Goblin, but he's reserved when he wants to be reserved, and he is like Nicolas Cage level crazy when he wants to be crazy. So like, dude, get him. But I mean, he turned down Doctor Strange, and he seems not as interested in these franchise movies if they're not weird character pieces. And yeah, John Cho has learned a lot recently. And I love him I really, really love him in whatchamacallit, in Searching, even though that movie has the dumbest ending, but it is a good, acting kind of character piece, which Norman is my favorite interpretation. I don't know. It's probably Willem Dafoe, just because that's the one that I like grew up with, but I mean, he's not the best Norman. I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, who are the Normans, right? So there's a bunch of comic versions of him. There's the one for the cartoon, the animated series, which was good. There's one for Spectacular Spider-Man, also good. Video game Norman's kind of fun. Like, the only one I really know is the cartoon version, where he's Iron Patriot in the Spider-Man movies, but they're both different in style. Yeah. I think that the important thing about Norman Osborn, so like, one of the comics I love right now is Spider-Man Life Story by Chip Zdarsky, which the idea for that is, what if Spider-Man aged at a normal rate, like cartoon characters just don't, or like comic book characters don't. So like, there's 6 issues, they're setting each 10 years apart. So it's like 1960, 1970, 1980, 1990. And the Norman Osborn in that is really, he's like the basic Norman Osborn. And I think the cool thing about Norman Osborn is he spends a lot of time with Peter Parker as Peter Parker, like in Norman Osborn, like that relationship exists. And they're just like, Spider-Man always, even though Norman Osborn is nice and like he's a smooth talker and he's smart and he's like confident, Spider-Man is always like, something's not right with this guy. Like, there's something that's a little bit off, and it's not that he's like crazy. It's just he has like an air of menace, which is why I think you would want a character actor who's famous for playing supervillain or like villains in general. So like, I don't know, like a young Anthony Hopkins, but like not him. But like I'd say like go back, find a show with a villain, and then just be like that guy. Like this is another one where you could cast Nikolai Coster-Waldau. The thing about Norman Osborn, the other thing is he has the dumbest hair in the history of comics, which I'm sure many of you have seen. But it's like this weird, like I don't even know how to describe it, but it's very specific. Yeah, and I think the other thing about Norman Osborn is he just has to seem powerful in any situation. Like whether he is a good guy or a bad, not like good guy or bad guy, whether it's Norman or super evil Norman. Yeah, I think that's right. The Clark Lionel relation. I guess I loved Smallville when that was on. Someone has suggested, I'm looking online right now actually at some of these guys like Liev Schreiber as Norman Osborn. They look very similar. I don't know who, but yeah, my idea right now, if I had to cast one, John Hamm's a good one, but I would probably go with Joaquin Phoenix, but I don't think he'd do it because he's a busy man. And they're going to do Joker movies forever. Although I would imagine the deal with this Joker movies are one and done because I can't imagine Joker 2 making any sense. Let's see. What else do we have here? Oh, okay. Let's do this one. No one is talking about Avengers Endgame Natasha cutting the peanut butter sandwiches diagonally while in Avengers HQ. How often did she and Fury argue over how to properly cut sandwiches? Does she cut them that way to spite him because now he's gone? Or was that her preferred method? And that's why she was in tears when Cap showed up, because making sandwiches that way caused her to think about past arguments with Fury. I think it definitely feels like that second one. It's such a weird line in Captain Marvel where they throw that in there. It's like, I can't eat sandwiches if they're cut diagonally. That it almost feels like that is going to come back in the very far future as like how we find out that he is a Skrull, and it's gonna be so unsatisfying. That scene where Natasha is making her sandwich and like talking to Captain America is a very good scene. There's so much in that movie that's just like you kind of forget about because there's so much crazy stuff that happens. It's like all the little stuff where it's just characters hanging out and like talking about the snap is really good. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of my big issues with Captain Marvel is timing related. There's a lot of jokes they hang too like long on, or they cut short. Have any of you guys seen? They released, I don't know how easy just find these online images of, excuse me, I don't know why I like so much. Images of, or not images, deleted scenes from Captain Marvel, because I imagine the movie is getting released soon. And the thing about it that's strange is there's two scenes. They're both like kind of like casual. One is Jude Law teaching kids about Skrulls, and it's very relaxed and fun. And then the other one is right before the mission to find Solar. It's the team just sparring verbally. And they're so good. Like, there's so much about Captain Marvel that I feel like you miss. I don't think we ever get a genuine moment when you're like, oh, Jude Law's not a bad guy, he's a good guy. But these moments would be like, oh, maybe he's a good guy. You never know. And see if you can find them. I'm sure they'll be online soon. But they really like you see like, oh, they needed this. They really could have used this. Let's see. But yeah, and I like her story a lot in this. Obviously, I think Endgame was just pretty much great, but I loved Natasha's whole deal. Like, I wish she could have been there for the A-Force moment, but like, I like the idea that she's like on a team with the Avengers, but she's also always kind of been her own person where, I don't know, like she plays well with others, but on the other side, she's like, I don't know. I don't know. She would have fit there, but also I just like everything they did with her in that movie. And I love ScarJo. I'm excited for the new one. Okay. Although who knows what that's going to be and if ScarJo is going to be in it at all. Let's see. Hashtag throw Clint off the cliff. That would have been really funny if they went through all the trouble and then she was like, haha, and then she disengaged the thing and Clint died. I liked that a lot. And I think that, I don't know. I think she should have, like, I think there should have been a plan in place that she knew about and he didn't, but that's just me. And it's so Natasha. Natasha's like always one step ahead and she's, manipulative and stuff. So why not have her know about the Soul Stone bit and then go to Vormir and then be like, sacrifice herself and trick Clint somehow. Someone asked, when are we getting a sequel to the Spiderwick Chronicles? I don't know what that is. I'm aware of it, but I have no idea what the answer to that question is. Let's see. Let's think of something else here. Okay, very general thoughts on Game of Thrones. It finished very poorly, as poorly as any show has ever finished. Without spoiling the big moments in the last couple episodes that everyone hates, just like it did such a poor job of actually delivering, because you don't have to explain, because like the mystery or the Night King is a mystery, right? And there's a lot of like, what's his deal? What does he want? How are they going to beat him? That set up that creates tension over the course of the first season or the first couple seasons. You don't have to explain everything about him. I don't think we needed to know who he was or, anything like that. But geez, like you have to like pay off all of these big character, like everything that they've created with him. As far as like, what's the Night King? Like we don't need to be told what he wants, but if the show is going to keep asking what the Night King is after, and like not as much what he's after, because that's like not as big of a question, but it's going to keep asking like, how do we beat him? Why is he posed so much of a threat? If the show is going to ask those questions, it has to answer them, and it didn't even kind of answer them. Like I think the ending is very stupid. The last half hour of the last episode is like incredibly dumb, but the Battle of Winterfell is easily the biggest disappointment for me, because as a battle, it just didn't work. And there was no strategy. There was no ebb and flow. It was just guys fighting the whole time. Andy says, I would so love a Game of Thrones season 7, season 8 rewrite series. I'd like to. It's tough. It's a bunch of reasons why it's tough. One, Game of Thrones is not as cool with like copywritten stuff as the rest of them are, which isn't like a great reason not to do it, but it's just a thing where like they seem prone to copyright strikes more. But beyond that, I haven't had good ideas for all of it. If I do one bit, and I've been trying to work this out, but it would force me to watch it again. So like, why would I? I would love to rewrite the last 5 minutes of the Battle of Winterfell. Just like say, okay, here's where all of the main characters are, or here's where they can be. Let's come up with a scenario where they all have something interesting to do. Like, for instance, right? We have 2 fights with White Walkers leading up to the Battle of Winterfell. Like sword fights, right? There's the bit where, I guess a sword fight. Yeah. Right. Okay. Sam, in season like 4, Sam kills a White Walker, right? Is it because the White Walker touches the Valyrian steel sword? Is that what happens? He like grabs it, right, and then vibrates and explodes? I think that's what happens. If that's the case, then yeah, just like so. I think that's how Sam kills it, which means Sam kills one with the Valerian steel sword, or maybe it's dragon glass. Because he wouldn't have the Valerian steel sword yet. It must be dragon glass. What the heck happens in the show? I have it like I'm watching it. Oh, he stabs it with the dragon glass. Okay, never mind. But forget about that. Let's imagine it didn't. We have four. There are 4 Valerian steel swords in the show at that time that exist in the universe. There are others that have been lost to history, but in Game of Thrones, there's Oathkeeper with Brienne, Widow's Wail with Jaime, though I don't know if he renames his or not. Longclaw with Jon, and Heartsbane with Sam gives it to Jorah. And then also Arya has Cat's Paw the dagger, right? They are all in Winterfell. We have seen that they are the things you use to kill White Walkers. It blows my mind that we don't get a bit, because what Bran says in the episode is like, you are all where you need to be, and like this is all preordained, and like that's stupid. If that's the case, it should be something kind of poetic. Like there should be a reason why every character has the thing they're supposed to have, right? Like Sam gives Jorah Heartsbane, and he's like, "Here, this is the ancestral sword of House Tarly. So like, I'm too weak to hold it. You can have it." And if all he's supposed to do with that in that episode is defend Dany, that sucks. Like that is the worst thing. Like you have the 4 Valerian steel swords. Let's have a face-off between those 4 people holding those 4 swords and everybody, all of the White Walkers. Like as part of a plan, like they should know, like, okay, so end game of this fight, and we have to make it seem like a real fight. The White Walker has to get to Bran at the Wirewood Tree. So we'll come up with a plan to have a fight that we will kind of lose, but not really. That's always the plan. And then we get him to the Wirewood Tree. We draw all of the White Walkers off of him, and then Arya does her dagger stab. Like, you can have that be the plan or some version of the plan, and it goes really poorly because it's just hard to fight a war and pretend to fight it and then lose and win when you're supposed to. But yeah, that's like not super hard to do. Also, have someone save someone in the crypts. Have Pod go and save them. Right? Like, we have characters like, so downstairs crypt characters, Arya and Varys and Tyrion and a bunch of randos. Someone upstairs at some point that's not doing stuff, because there's plenty of them, should have a moment where like, oh, wait a second. The crypts. We got to go to the crypts. And then like Pod and Sam maybe can have a moment where they all go down to the crypts and fight the little zombie whites, and like maybe even bring weapons so Tyrion can fight too. Like a Pod and Tyrion reunion fight would be fun. And not even just fun, but like, because it's not that this all has to be this poetic, like Avengers-y, like, well, this guy, we've always wanted to see this guy team up with this guy, so let's do that, right? It doesn't have to be that. But to some extent, it has to be like, well, you brought everybody here, so what are they going to do? And there's obvious things that some of these characters could do that they just don't. So hi, Andy. Hi, William. Let's see. But yeah, it was super disappointing. I like just hearing people talk about it because I think it's interesting. I think the discourse around it as a show is really fascinating because it's bad. But everyone knows it's bad. No one's pretending. Let's see. Am I planning to do a video on Hellboy? That's a great question. Because I saw the Hellboy movie, and it's not good. It's very, very bad. but it's also kind of fun. Rewriting it's tough because A, that would force me to watch it again. It's probably not in theater, so it'll probably take a while. Or like doing any change videos on it. But B, it's tough to tell what a lot of that movie was going for and what was written on and what was cut for a budget reason. Like, I don't know what the skeleton of that movie was. It just kind of ends, which is weird, which makes me think the ending's a big change. Like, if you've seen the Hellboy movie, what happens in this movie is everything goes the way a normal movie would go. And then in the last 10 minutes, or like, then Hellboy goes to the third act and he's like, all right, time for the third act fight. Let's all go fight. And then it keeps going for another like 45 minutes. Like, the pacing at the end is terrible. And I have a feeling that's why people came out with such a bad like taste in their mouth, besides the other, there's a lot of problems with it. But yeah, I'd love to do a Hellboy rewrite. I mean, I think the thing that movie needed, so without like rewriting it, but just like kind of thinking about it, the thing that movie could have used is an Abe Sapien. It needed someone to break up what they got. Like, because every character in that movie is a fast talking kind of like, hey, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, right? Like, that's not good. You need somebody, you need someone pushing back against that energy. And that movie didn't have it. And that's probably why a lot of it felt tiresome once you got introduced to the Leopard Man, and I want to say Alice is her name, is because they're all the same. So that would you have a rating of filler script for what you think The Shape of Water to Hellboy 1 and 2. So I that's the other thing. I have no affinity. I have no like huge affinity for the Hellboy movies. A lot of people love them. I've also never seen Shape of Water, which I hear is a very good movie. I've just never been in the mood for it. I got a couple from William I skipped here. So first one, real quick, will I see Brightburn? I will. I was invited to a screening of it the other day, and it was just earlier than they usually are, and I didn't make it. I wasn't feeling great. But I will see it. I don't know if I'd want to see it in a theater. I think I'd rather see it at home. But also, like, I've seen all 3 trailers for it, and I kind of get it. Like, I think I know exactly what happens. By filling that in by taking, like, what I already know about how a Superman origin movie works and adding all the stuff from the trailers, like, I'm pretty sure we got it. Like, right, like, there's a scene where he's in a diner threatening a woman that was mean to him, right? That scene probably plays out over the course of 5 minutes, and we only see like 30 seconds of it in the trailer, but we see like 2 seconds of it in the trailer, but I know how that scene plays out because it's a horror movie. But yeah, no, it does look kind of fun. Like, I'm not against it. I think it could be a very good, fun movie. And I like the concept of it. I like I don't think I'll ever like it more than I liked the trailer the first time I saw it, because I was just like, oh, this is so fun. It almost felt like a sketch on like an SNL show. Okay. So the other one from William is about the MCU replacement post. So let's read it. We'll go over it now. So MCU replacement. A fun discussion I had with some friends recently. If you could go back and replace one cast or crew member from an MCU movie with someone else, who would you replace? We followed the rule that all future MCU projects featuring your replacee would now feature your replacement. So, for example, you replace RDJ with Tom Cruise in the first Iron Man, then Tom Cruise would continue being Iron Man in all future MCU movies. But if you were to first bring in Tom Cruise as Iron Man in the Avengers, it would still have been Robert Downey Jr. in Iron Man 1 and 2, and Tom Cruise and everything afterwards. If you could be it could be a cast member, director, writer, producer. You can only replace one person, with the exception of replacing a director, writer with multiple co-director, writers, and vice versa. Who would you replace with who? Common answers include Terrence Howard, replacing Terrence Howard with Don Cheadle in Iron Man, or Ed Norton with Mark Ruffalo in Incredible Hulk, in order to prevent recasting. I personally would have loved to see a Patty Jenkins directed version of The Dark World. Yeah, And she was the original director choice. And after seeing Wonder Woman, I think she would have done a bang up job. So I've had versions of this conversation a lot, some on different podcasts. I would have loved. So the Marvel movies that I am not the biggest, like, I don't love Captain Marvel, and I think I don't blame the directors or anything like that. Like, it'd be crazy for me to be like it's all their fault. I do think there is no, looking back at their portfolio, there is no reason. I cannot figure out what got them that job. They seem like competent directors, but like they've never done a big giant superhero space operating movie, which isn't exactly what it is, but it could have been. They haven't done a spy movie. They haven't worked with any of the actors besides Ben Mendelsohn, I don't think, which is not shocking that he's the one who I think out of that movie comes out looking the best. I would love to have seen some different take on Captain Marvel from someone else. And I know you were, so one of the rules you were saying was I can't replace a directing team. So I would put the Wachowskis in there, but let's say I can't replace both of them. I would have liked to see one of those directors. So I think their names are like Fleck and something. Let's see. Captain Marvel. Yeah, Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck. So not only are they the directors, they wrote the screenplay, and they don't do that. So I don't blame them. Why wouldn't you try this? But like, what in their history would tell you that this is going to work? So I don't know which one I would switch, but I'd switch one of them out for like Kevin Smith or something. Someone who gets superhero movies, someone who gets the 90s and be like, write this and direct it. Like, get a good performance out of these characters. Make it feel like one of your movies, but just, do that. Because I think a lot of the problems with Captain Marvel, like Brie Larson gets a lot of, like, she, maybe she's not the best at promoting the movies or whatever, but I think a lot of the like choices and like acting things that people take issue with come from directing. Like, it's not, she's a good actress, but directing comedy isn't easy. Like, you can't just expect anyone to do it. So I don't know why we thought that you wouldn't have to get a veteran genre actor to do something like Captain Marvel. So I would say recasting one of the directors of Captain Marvel would be great. I mean, the obvious one, no, I mean, without a doubt, the obvious one is I want Edgar Wright back. I want to see his Ant-Man, because I like Ant-Man the way it was enough. But like, Edgar Wright movies are all great, and that he definitely had something there that I'm really bummed that we'll never see. Because yeah, oh my God, can you imagine? Like, and I've heard, what I've heard? I was always under the impression, because if you watch Ant-Man 1 and you're like, well, this, and if people that don't know, Edgar Wright is like the guy that made Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz and Scott Pilgrim, one of my favorite movies just in general. He was supposed to direct Ant-Man, and then at some point there was some sort of studio difference and it didn't work out, which is crazy. People don't know that, like, doesn't come up that often. When he directed Ant-Man, or when Marvel Studios, I want to say in 2006, went to Comic-Con, the company just starting out, and they were like, we're going to make movies about superheroes. They're going to be disconnected, and then we're going to connect them. And they said, here's the three we're going to make: Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, and Ant-Man. So Ant-Man's always like one of the number one guys. And he just like, that project just took so long, and it was such a fraught mess. Like, I agree, Peyton Reed did well enough, but I think an Edgar Wright Ant-Man would have the potential to be like Taika Waititi's Thor, where it's just like a big, awesome, cool movie that is a huge winner and everyone loves. And instead it was not. I mean, listen, if I'm replacing one person in the whole company, it's like Perlmutter with nothing. Replace him with a broom. I don't care. Get that guy out of the company as fast as possible because he seems like he made a lot of mistakes. And he seems like he wasn't the best person to be in the control, because also he seems like he was the problem with Inhumans. He's the reason that it was a TV show and not a movie, because he wanted an X-Man and that was his X-Man. Let's see. Look at a list of Marvel movies, because this is an interesting thought experiment. Yeah, I don't think there's very few actors that I'm like, oh yeah, I'd love to see this one swapped with this one, because I think most of them are pretty good. Yeah, yeah, like I can't really find an actor in here that I'm like, I don't like that guy at all. There's some that I'm like, I probably would, like I'd like to see like a great actor that I love in everything in some of these movies. So I'm sure there's a spot where I could fit. See, like most of them are already in them though. Like your Sam Rockwell's and your Jeff Goldblum types. But like, yeah, I'm thinking like character. I think like writers and stuff. Do you want all the anime? No, I think the anime we got is fine. I'd like a movie that focuses more on their relationship. But I think there's tough Flash Thompson. Yeah, I get what they're doing with this Flash Thompson, but like it's definitely not the one I'm used to. And he can't be Agent Venom. This one, right? This one can't go to war and come back as a big cool superhero guy. See, like I think the villains are well cast enough. They're just not well written. Like, like Malekith, there's nothing he could have done. It's the writing, and I think replacing getting Patty Jenkins would be fun for that. I like Kenneth Branagh in Thor, but I don't know what I would like. I don't know. The first Thor movie's fine. Tough Flash Thompson. Like, yeah, but I like the idea. What I heard someone explain was like, well, we just wanted a Flash Thompson that's more of like what a bully is these days, which is like a stupid cyber bully, and I like get that. If I could swap out an actor, because there's so many, there's definitely a bunch that I would love to see changed. Especially considering how many like there have been so many movies that I'm like, this one's so close. Like, if you had another voice in this room, I think this movie could be really amazing. And a lot of the times they just aren't. Or like, not they're not amazing, but they're like one step from being amazing. So, okay, swapping Brie Larson. Yeah, I could see that. I like Emily Blunt a lot. I like Emma Stone's fine. Nick Cage would be a great Norman Osborn. He can do crazy. Be a fun goblin. Who there were some actors like the Katie Sackhoff, I think is her name, from Battlestar Galactica at some point. It seemed like she was going to be Captain Marvel. I don't know if she's like exactly the right person, but I don't know who I would want for Captain Marvel. Let's see. Yeah, there's funny actresses that are just comedians, right? Like I could see going straight in with a comedian and then betting on that. Let's see. I've got a list here of like a bunch of Catherine Winnick from Vikings. Don't know too much about her. She could probably do it. feel like this is really just a list of all of the actors from Hollywood. I will really want one with the comedy background. None of the ones that are on this list really have that. I don't know, Lily James. Yeah, it might be Emily Blunt. But again, everyone wants her to be Sue Storm. So that's fine. Blake Lively. Yeah. Is she funny? She did Gossip Girl. She's Ryan Reynolds. Like, she spends enough time with Ryan Reynolds, and I'm sure it could rub off on her. Yeah, nobody in this list. I don't know who Lily James is. Pride and Prejudice and Zombies? Maybe. That's not bad. Like, so my problem with this Captain Marvel, not problem with this Captain Marvel, the one of the things that's going to make Captain Marvel difficult for me forever is just like the Captain Marvel in the Avengers TV show, and that I'm kind of familiar with from the comics. It's just so tough. Like, she is impossibly, like, not like impossibly tough, but like she's just really tough. And I don't get that from Brie Larson, which is fine because it's just a different version of the character. But in my head, I'm always like, I want one that just is like super, which is probably why, like, so just being like, cast the, one from Vikings. I'm like, yeah, that works. Charlize Theron is another one. She could be fun. She is, I mean, she's great in everything she's been in. And especially as in like Mad Max and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. You know what? Let's take Gemma Chan. Let's swap her out. Because Gemma Chan, for people that don't know, she played Minerva for about 8 seconds of combined screen time in Captain Marvel. Let's use her. She's real tough in Crazy Rich Asians. Apparently she's in Fantastic Beasts, so I cannot remember where. Will they ever explain how Carol is well over 50 now? I don't know. Probably not. I think they'll just ignore it. Kirsten Wiig would have been a fun one, but I don't think she's got quite the, like, I don't know. It's such a weird mix of tough and funny that, like, I think Charlize Theron's actually great because she is really funny. Even in that not dumb. I mean, that movie where it's like 1 Million Ways to Die in the West or whatever, which is not a great movie by any stretch. She's real funny in it. So, and she hangs out with all these comedians. So, like, you gotta imagine she's like a fun, she's just got the energy that I think would work in this. Okay. Let's see. What else do we have here? I'll do a couple more and then we'll take a break. I'm trying to film a little bit today for the video on the Ant-Man pitch. So then we're going to do the other one at 9:00 today. Let's see. Oh yeah, duh. Yeah, she's great. And Charlize Theron is great in Arrested Development. She's a Mr. F. Like, yeah, she would be. Yeah, that really does kind of seem like a no-brainer now. Huh. What fools they were. She probably just was busy or didn't want to do it. Like, a lot of the times when it's like, why didn't they cast Charlize Theron? My first thought is just like, well, she probably said no or something. Emily Blunt, I think we know, said no to Black Widow back in the day, and she's probably said no to other roles. Like, I feel like there's a list of actors and actresses like Joaquin Phoenix too, that these movies are always just like, please get Joaquin, try Joaquin for this part. He's a great actor. Well, he can be whatever one he wants. And then he's just like, nah, I'm busy. I'm like, all right, we'll check with you in a year. Oh, that's funny. She was recast. Is that true? If she was recast after she got pregnant, wasn't ScarJo pregnant for a big chunk of Infinity War? And they're just like, yeah, we'll just shoot her from, like, we'll get around it. It's fine. But I mean, I guess, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's probably her choice. Yeah, Charlize Theron, she's over 40, but she looks young. B, it doesn't really matter. Like, there's some of these characters in the MCU, like, what's her name? Nothing pissed me off more than Ant-Man, where they go to we hear the whole Ant-Man 1 is just about the quantum realm. Oh, the quantum realm. Time is different in the quantum realm. If you go in, you come out, and it's less time or something, right? So Michael Douglas, whatever age he is right now, 70-year-old Michael Douglas, that might be a bit much. I mean, he was pretty old in Wall Street 40 years ago. That was 40 years ago. 74, yeah. 74-year-old Michael Douglas is going to find his wife, 61-year-old Michelle Pfeiffer, but she disappeared when she was in her mid-30s, maybe. And it's like, well, she should be 30 then. Or, and I don't understand, like, I don't think this is unprecedented. Maybe she was 60 when she, like, what if he was 30 and she was 60 and she's still 60 and now they're the same age? Like, she's Benjamin Button. They met in the middle almost. Like, is it insane to think that, like, Michael Douglas at that time, like, why did we have to age her down at all? Why couldn't he just have been dating or married to a much younger or much older Michelle Pfeiffer? And now they're the same. I don't know. Okay. How do I feel about Young Avengers? Like building a team with younger characters and bringing in new characters, new Iron Man, Miss Marvel, etc. I think they should do it. I don't know. So we got the young. So there's a couple of different versions of this. There's the Young Avengers, which is all of the just like brand new characters that they invented in, like, I want to say the 2000s. They were supposed to kind of like be like take up the mantle of this. So it's like Wiccan, Hulkling. Wiccan's kind of like young Scarlet Witchy Thorish character. Hulkling is like the Hulk, although maybe he's not. Who knows? Iron Lad, Patriot. I'm forgetting at least one. But so there's them, but then there's the champions now. And I think if they go in a direction, that's what we're getting. We would get Miles Morales Spider-Man or young Spider. It could just be Spider-Man at this point. Sam Alexander, Nova. I think we'd get a young Nova. I'm shocked we haven't seen that movie yet because we haven't seen, besides Spider-Man, all of these movies, and this shocks me, have been about like 30-year-olds, which is fine, but these are superhero movies. Like, they're for kids. Make one about a kid. And like, yeah, that's Spider-Man, but you have a couple of other characters. Like, you have Sam Alexander. You have Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, who, she's definitely got to be in this. Amadeus Joe Hulk, sure, not positive. I mean, he exists in this universe, right? He would be what's-her-name's son, Helen Cho from Age of Ultron. And then Viv, the Vision daughter, would be in there. Yeah, Riri Williams. I don't know what they're gonna do with her because you got so many Iron Man proxies hanging around. We got Norman Osborn, who will show up as Iron Patriot. We got Riri Williams, who could show up as Ironheart, and like they built her up very recently, so it could very easily be an effort to popularize this character. We got and you've got whatever Harley from Iron Man 3 is, who, like, I think could probably do a movie on his own. And you got War Machine, who's still alive. I don't know. I don't know who they would do. And then you got Shuri Ironheart. Yeah, I don't know. They could. I think Shuri could be. Yeah. That's what I think. Harley will be Iron Lad. He probably won't call himself Iron Lad, but he'll be like Iron Boy, or he could just call himself Iron Man. Doesn't matter. Shuri as Ironheart works. I don't know. I mean, I don't like. I understand what that would mean, but then I'm like, well, why wouldn't she just be something else? Because she's not Ironheart. Besides the fact that she's like a young black girl, they really don't seem to have that much in common. She can just be the Black Panther or some new thing. But definitely Kamala Khan, I think, is right. And I'm pretty sure Feige has said he wants to do her. The other character that you could throw in there, it would be like Crystal from the Inhumans, except they really massively messed up that. But like, as far as the young characters, and then Kate Bishop Hawkeye, that's the other one that you could pop in. Although who knows what the story is with her, because she might be in a TV show or she might not. Let's see. We need Kamala Khan, and the timing is right since she idolizes Captain Marvel. Yes and no. Do we know if Captain Marvel is a public figure? Like, do people know she exists? Because I'm not positive she is. Like, I don't know if that's a thing. I hope it's a thing. But in the 5 years, it's like no one on Earth knew about her in 17 or 18, whenever Infinity War was supposed to take place. And there's that 5-year gap. I guess maybe people would just be like, she's pretty cool. Gotta deal with her. Like she's out there. What about Monica Rambeau? Is she Spectrum yet? I guess not. But probably some point she will be. Oh yeah, Cassie Lang. That's true. You got Stature or Stinger. Or I forget which one she is. She might be both. Yeah, you got enough Young Avengers that I think you could make a team, and you could do a Patriot or some sort of young Captain America version. Although you probably don't need to. Yeah, it'd be interesting. Have this be like Spider-Man's job. Have his job be to train these kids. Although, like, can we just get a Spider-Man story where he's Spider-Man, where he's just Spider-Man on his own doing Spider-Man things and not some Avengers something. Yeah, Monica Rambeau is an interesting one because one of the books I'm reading right now, which I don't have here, is I do. Is Next Wave, which is a fun kind of like parody book. It's not really a parody; it's like kind of a parody. But it's just a bunch of superheroes fighting what's kind of evil Shield, and they just don't take anything seriously. And I think you can make this book too. You make this a movie. Monica Rambeau, Machine Man, Elsa Bloodstone, Boom Boom from the X-Men, so maybe not her, and this guy named the Captain. I'm not finished with the book, so I'm not sure what his deal is. But like, I think they should do a team of like a parody movie where the heroes are dumb and don't take anything seriously. But yeah, have Monica Rambeau run her own team with as Photon or Spectrum. Wait, is she Spectrum or Photon? I think Spectrum's a different character. No, you're right. Who's Photon? Maybe it's the same thing. Monica Rambeau. Oh, okay, yeah. So she's been all of them. She's been Captain Marvel, Photon, Pulsar, and Spectrum. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what I do with, but I think we'll get champions soon. I think we'll get champions before you get Young Avengers. Just because the infrastructure exists for them way more than it does for Wiccan and Hulkling and others. All right, let's do one more question from the Patreon thing and one more from the chat. Let's find a Patreon one. Posts. I had to close this, but that who would you cast in what is a fun one. Okay, this is a good one. We got one from M. Butler. So the question is, okay, so we got two. All right, so I got the last two questions here. We got the one that just went in the chat. We got this one from M. Butler. Is it too late for a Black Widow movie? Avengers 2 already gave the abridged origin story. John Wick already had 3 movies. And have you seen the trailer for Luke Benson's new Anna? If Black Widow came out during Phase 2, it would be groundbreaking. And if it came out between Avengers 3 and 4, it could have fleshed out the Hawkeye story. But now, after everything that happened to the character, then it feels like that window may have closed. Kind of. I kind of agree. I think that we have gotten to the point with that character where, like, I get it because she opened Lucy across the world and made $1 bazillion. Like, I think it'd be crazy I think it'd be crazy for Marvel to not be like, yeah, make your own whatever, do what you want, ScarJo. You're young and talented and like not young. She's not young. I'm actually reading these other questions. You're talented. You're a big box office draw, and you have a character that we like, and we're dying to make more solo superhero movies. Or not just solo, but like female solo superhero movies. I think it should be a period piece set in the 90s or 2000s. I've heard every rumor possible for what that movie is. Period piece of the 90s, 2000, set between Civil War and Infinity War, set between Infinity War and Endgame. Complete origin story. I don't want any of those. Or I would like to see, like we were talking about spy movies before. If I'm, you know what, this would be a fun one to write. Just give her a mission, set it in the 2000s. I've heard something about it being loosely connected to Y2K. I don't know what characters you could use this movie to build. If you wanted to make a a what's the word, backdoor origin story with like it's a Black Widow movie where another main character is in it, and that main character is someone that will be in the movies in the future. And this movie is about them kind of working together and passing the torch. But you could almost, yeah, but you'd be missing a lot. You could make the A-Force movie by setting it between Infinity War and Endgame and have it be Captain Marvel, Scarlet Witch. But I mean, you'd never be able to. Or not Scarlet Witch, Captain Marvel, Black Widow, Okoye, and Nebula. But you wouldn't be able to get away with it. It'd be too expensive. Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know what good Black Widow comics are either. I read the first issue of the new one, and it didn't grab me. I like the character a ton, but I've only really liked her on a team. So then it's kind of like, well, what do you do next? What's her Black Widow allies? And like, I don't care. I almost really don't want it to explore Budapest. I don't want to learn about Budapest. I just want a new thing. Like, I want that to be a mysterious thing we never find out, especially after the Nick Fury eye thing. Like, nah, I don't want to know. Don't tell me. It will never be as fun as this like silly little mystery that exists in this universe. So we've got there's some characters that have some sort of loose connection to Captain Marvel. Someone named Darkstar. I don't know who she is, but I don't know. I'm trying to find like characters that are Black Widow allies and be like, oh yeah, that guy. We need this dude or this lady in a movie. Because also, I don't know who her enemies are. Like, I don't know one that I'm like, oh, of course she gets to fight whoever the fuck. Like, all the Hydra villains have been in a show already. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So yeah, I don't know what the smart thing would be to do with Black Widow. I'm sure you could do it. I've heard Taskmaster maybe, but yeah. Let's see, real quick one. I am not watching. I've watched about half of the first episode of season 6 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I've just been too busy. I'll probably catch up soon. I didn't mind season 5, but I do feel like it didn't. The beginning of season 4 will never beat how excited I was about that. I loved the Ghost Rider stuff, but I mean, that's probably just me being like, I want that show. Make me that show, please. Yeah, I need a better list of like Black Widow's allies and villains. Okay. But yeah, I don't think it's too late. I think they can pull it off. I have no idea what they'll do. Yeah, I do like I like the LMD stuff too. There was one more question in here. Oh, bye, Toasted Zen. There's one more question in here that I want to answer. Oh, someone asked about the new Avengers show or new Warriors show. Yeah, this is a William. Do you ever think we'll still get that new Warriors show? I really hope so, because so that team is fun. Squirrel Girl has been like just the thing that everyone wanted forever, and for good reason. Very fun character. I don't know too many of these actors, so I'm going to go through them real quick. Derek Theller is going to play Mr. Immortal, who is fine, a fine character. This guy is from nothing I've seen. Yeah. Wow, really nothing. So he's not super important. Got Jeremy Tardy playing Night Thrasher. Also nothing I've seen. An episode of Castle. Yeah. Oh boy. Just so many of these actors. I'm like, you're probably good, but I want one of them to get me excited. Caleb Worthy, that guy sounds familiar. Is he Speedball? Yeah, he's Speedball. Scooby-Doo Monsters Unleashed. Jeez, come on. Can one of you be famous, please? Just someone I like to make me really excited about this. Nope. All right, well, you tried. Matthew Moy as a microbe. He didn't even have a picture. That's no bueno. I don't know. But then you got Melania Vatrub, who is super funny. If you've never, this guy's in, or this girl, Kate Corner in this show is going to be playing Debris. And she was in one episode of Always Sunny. I imagine she's the escape room operator. So cool. Oh, and she's in. I think you should. So she's probably funny too. She's in Veep. She's got some stuff. Oh, she's in Latest Kids. Another show I loved. So yeah, now I'm really excited about it. But yeah, no, Melania Vaintrub. If you don't know her, she was the AT&T girl. I don't think she still is, but she's real. She's real funny. And she used to have a YouTube channel where she did like interviews, and it was kind of like Between Two Ferns. It wasn't exactly that, but that's kind of what it was going for. It wasn't as, that amazing, but she was really funny in it. And just as the actress, I believe she has an interesting story. I think she's some sort of immigrant. I don't know exactly what her deal is, but she just seems like a cool person. As Squirrel Girl, a character that everyone loves, I think it would be nuts if she didn't, if they didn't do everything they could to put Squirrel Girl on screen, especially considering she's in that new cartoon thingy, whatever that is. So yeah, Melanie Vaintrub was born in Soviet Republic, and she was a refugee, so she immigrated to West Hollywood, which is cool. It's an interesting story. And yeah, so she had a channel called, so let's talk about something more interesting is the name of this YouTube series. So go watch that. It's pretty funny. And yeah, and I just think that there's no reason that this New Warriors show shouldn't exist. Like it should be so funny. It should be such a no-brainer. And I think some of these, I blame Daredevil, but I mostly blame Arrow, a show I love, for kind of oversaturating the market with all these superhero shows. But I think they can do it. I think they should really move it. But I also don't know what network it's on, so maybe they're saving it for Disney Plus. But also, like, can Disney Plus support 8 shows going at once or whatever they're going to end up with, especially when they save Daredevil? Maybe if they ever do that. So yeah, so we're ready to end the question, but I don't know. I really would like it though, because I like Squirrel Girl. But yeah, that's all I got for now. Thank you to everybody that's been hanging around. We'll do this again at 9:00 Eastern today. So 7.5 hours from now, we'll be back here, not on this link, but I'll put up a different link. And we'll do this again for all the West Coast people or all the East Coast and West Coast people that have work. And I will talk about some other stuff. I don't know. Talk about future projects, and we'll talk about all these Marvel Legends replica toys that I have open in my browser for some reason that I want to buy, including, I guess they have the new Endgame Gauntlet thing, which we should be calling the Iron Gauntlet, but apparently we're calling the Nano Gauntlet, which is a mistake. So thank you guys all so much. Thank you guys for being patrons and supporting the show. It's super cool. And yeah, I'm gonna go work on the next video now. See you guys all later. Bye.